By your logic, they should take down the Jesus statue in Lebanon. It's like one of the big monuments of the country. And
well, again, they're a huge portion of the country. They're damn near half. That's a bit different.
But they're still minority. Still minority. It's less than half.
The Islamic faith is not a part of the American infrastructure.
Neither is Christianity.
It's not. This country was founded by Christians.
But it's not part of the American doctrine.
Listening to Myron talk, you'd think America runs on vibes instead of laws. 1 second it's a Christian country, next second it's not in the Constitution, but somehow he still owns the keys. Muslims are guests, no matter what. History only counts when it's convenient, and freedom is cool until someone uses it in a way he doesn't like. So instead of arguing feelings, let's actually look at what holds up and what doesn't.
As a guest, right? Because we are guests here.
What does that mean? Guests?
We're guests. This is not a Muslim country. This is not a Muslim country.
It's a freedom of religion country.
Yeah.
It's a secular country.
Okay.
What do you mean we're guests? I'm a citizen here. I'm not a guest. Wait, no. Hold on. I'm not a guest. I have a passport. I was born here.
Of course.
Myron's claim that Muslims are guests collapses once citizenship is distinguished from religion. The United States does not recognize host religions. It recognizes citizens with equal legal standing. More importantly, Muslims were not merely late arrivals. Many were forcibly brought as enslaved West Africans, a significant percentage of whom were Muslim, and they helped build the country's early economy and infrastructure. A guest chooses to enter a home. Slaves did not. Calling Muslims guests erases both historical reality and constitutional law, reducing belonging to religious preference rather than citizenship.
The United States is a Christian country. It was founded by Protestant Christians.
No, it's a secular country.
Well, here's the thing. So
we have freedom of religion. It's always
we do. But when they had the freedom of religion and the separation of church and state, that was instituted not just for freedom of religion purposes, but also because there are the fights between Catholics, Baptists, Protestants, etc. So what they wanted to separate the church from the state so that neither can corrupt the other. Does that make sense? Yeah. So like the separation of church and state was actually instituted to protect both institutions from corrupting each other.
The Founding Fathers had an opportunity to use the Bible and the Constitution, and they decided not to because it's a secular country.
The claim that America is a Christian nation is challenged by official historical records. The Treaty of Tripoli, approved by the Senate and signed under the second U.S. president, clearly states that the United States was not founded on Christianity. This demonstrates that the country was intended to function independently of any single religion. While many early Americans were Christian, the government itself was designed to remain neutral in matters of faith.
No, that's not happening. There's no example of that happening. Of Christians not praying on the street.
But why do they not do it?
Because Christians don't pray on the street. But
I'm saying that as Muslims, we should do the same. Like this is not our country. We did not found this country.
But look, so all different religions that people pray at.
We got mosques. We could pray at home. Like my issue isn't with praying. My issue is with openly praying and disrupting others. Okay. If you're openly praying and you're not disrupting anybody, I don't care. Like some dude in Dallas.
I was in Times Square. We weren't disrupting anybody. I was there on the front line. I made a whole vlog. We could watch it.
Yeah, bro.
There was no disruption.
Like I am not a fan of like any of these Puerto Rican Day Parade. I've made jokes on that shit because they're fucking Americans. What the fuck are they doing? Nobody cares about reggaeton. Doom. Like, and this is kind of where.
So is that them asserting dominance?
To a degree, yeah, for sure.
So it's the same thing.
Yes.
Criticism of cultural parades overlooks the diverse history of the United States. American society developed through the contributions of many ethnic and cultural communities, each maintaining aspects of their heritage. Allowing cultural expression aligns with freedom of speech and does not weaken national unity. In fact, diversity has long been part of the American experience.
And what else is happening in Times Square? See, you're upset about like praying in public. What else is happening in Times Square at that time? Like Mickey Mouse, Elmo, drug deals, fights,
of course,
peanuts. Like, it's just stupid shit, like rappers selling CDs. It's not like the alternative to what else is happening in Times Square besides praying is like, okay, were we really interrupting anything important? No. The only thing we stopped was a couple drug deals and Elmo and gorillas.
No, man, because here's the thing. Police got to go out there.
There was no cops.
We had
no cops.
Nothing.
It was just us, completely organized.
I still don't.
It wasn't sanctioned by the city. We just showed up.
The argument that public worship is disruptive, even when no objections are voiced, relies on assumptions rather than clear evidence. Discomfort cannot be presumed without direct impact. In a pluralistic society, encountering different beliefs in public spaces is expected and does not, by itself, limit personal freedom.
The Islamic faith is not a part of the American infrastructure.
Neither is Christianity.
This country was founded by Christians.
But it's not part of the American doctrine.
The people that founded this country
It's not, it's not in the doctrine. Just because
the separation of church and state was put in place so that either would not corrupt each other, but it's still a Christian country founded by Christian people, right? Because you can make the argument.
It's not you can make the argument
like Syria wasn't a Muslim country, isn't a Muslim country because Bashar al-Assad was a secularist, or Saddam Hussein was a secularist. It's still a Muslim country majority, and they're going to play that then.
I'll say that. Yeah, it's a Christian majority country, but it's not a Christian country by definition.
I think this is a Christian country,
but there's no paperwork or any it's not in the Constitution.
It was found. It's not a. Well, they have got it.
Even when you pledge allegiance as an American, I grew up
pledge allegiance saying, but God, the God is mentioned in.
Do you say Jesus? They believe.
You say God.
You don't say Jesus.
You say God. You don't have to say Jesus because
you don't say the Holy Spirit.
To them, God and Jesus are synonymous. Synonymous.
Yes and no. Actually, if you talk to a Christian,
it depends on who you talk to. Yes.
Yeah, being honest, bro.
They look at God and Jesus as the same. Like, because he's the Son of God. So
he's also God's only begotten Son. So they are separate entities.
It depends on who you look at. Who you're asking.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But the reason that this is in God we trust is because it's the most universal statement.
Although many founders came from Christian backgrounds, several held non-traditional or secular views and intentionally separated religion from government. The legal framework they created avoids favoring one belief system over others. Personal faith did not translate into religious authority within the state.
Yeah, I think we're guests here. That is
Dude, Myron, we were born here.
No, the Islamic faith and the religion of Islam, you are a guest as a Muslim in the United States.
I'm not a guest in my home.
Bro, we are guests here.
We
are guests here.
We were born here.
Yes, but our religion, our religion.
So now your faith makes you a guest.
Yes, if you're going to open, yes, to a degree, yes.
Labeling Islam as a permanent guest religion misunderstands constitutional equality. Rights in the United States do not depend on religious history or population size. And if demographics were to change, if more than 50% of the country became Muslim, would we suddenly call America a Muslim country and tell Christians they're now guests? If the answer is no, then the guest argument was never about law or principle to begin with.
New York City is the definition of a melting pot. You got people from the Caribbean, from Africa.
It's always been that way. Since like the 40s predominantly.
It's been. New York City is a perfect example of like why this multiculturalism, mass multiculturalism doesn't work a lot of the time. I think New York City is a failed city.
It's really safe. This is the least amount of crime we've had in a while.
Bro, New York City. Okay, that's fine. But
how is it a failed city? It's a great city.
It's a failed city, bro.
But based on what metric?
I think it's a failed city. Crime metrics, dirtiness.
Claims that multiculturalism caused New York City's challenges are not supported by long-term trends. Periods of higher diversity have often coincided with improvements in safety and economic activity. Social issues are more accurately linked to policy and economic factors than cultural diversity.
If you're actually going to talk about what it means to be an American, if you look at the amendments and you look at the rights that we have, it has nothing to do with being a Christian.
Again, just because it's not in the doctrine. Constitution, so to speak, right? Or maybe even the Bill of Rights or whatever, does not mean
any of the
and they probably did that on purpose.
Paperwork.
And they probably did that on purpose, right? To
not declare it as a Christian, as a single religion's country. Well, that's the whole reason they did that. So I'm going to follow what the founding fathers said.
Yeah, but here's the thing. America does have an identity, whether people want to accept it or not. And this is where we can have the disagreement.
What's the identity?
The American identity is a majority white country that's a Christian nation. That is the American identity, unfortunately.
Defining American identity by race or religion conflicts with the country's civic foundations. The Constitution establishes a shared legal identity that applies to all citizens. Cultural or religious background does not determine someone's legitimacy as an American.
What I'm saying is that level of tolerance is not acceptable in Muslim countries. And it's unfair for us.
Because they don't have freedom of speech the same way we do. Like, America is based off of free speech. That's why they can do that.
Yeah.
It's not really a faith thing. It's just a principle thing.
Well, again, like I said before, that would not be tolerated in a Muslim country, right? It would not be tolerated in a Muslim country. And we respect that.
Because they have different rules. They don't have like the freedom of speech doctrine the same way we do.
Restrictions on public religious expression in some countries are often tied to governance systems rather than religion itself. The U.S. person's standard is based on constitutional freedoms, not on mirroring policies from elsewhere. Domestic rights should be evaluated on their own legal foundations.
The hatred of Muslims has nothing to do.
Here's the thing.
Dearborn is 100,000 people. It's a small city.
Yep.
Like this, the reason you're saying it's because some people prayed in public when it's really due to the strongest propaganda machine of all time.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. I understand as someone that worked in national security, that worked in terrorism, etc., right? I understand this to a deep degree that other people don't. The disdain for Muslims, I agree with you. It came from the war on terror. It came from 9/11. It came from the propaganda and the lies that Muslims are the enemy, Muslims are the enemy, Muslims are the enemy. I agree with you on that. What I'm saying is we already have a bad rap, unfortunately, in the West. Praying in public and disrupting people doesn't help our cause.
So the misunderstanding from the average American, they think Allahu Akbar is a call for terrorism. That really means God is the greatest.
Yeah.
So when people in Times Square see, actually, I could tell you from experience being there, when they say like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're praying because it's Ramadan. They're like, oh, that's cool. When they learn what it actually is, it's like it changes their mind about it. Because a lot of people have this idea that it's a violent, oppressive, terrible religion. And they see like,
true.
Oh, actually, we're not asserting dominance, but doing the most submissive act, praying to God, putting your head on the floor. They're like, oh, wow, wait, this is, and they hear the Quran like, oh, this is kind of peaceful. I kind of like it. It changes their perception.
Myron admits that anti-Muslim sentiment in the U.S. stems from decades of propaganda linked to the war on terror and geopolitical interests. Yet he still blames Muslims for public prayer rather than the propaganda machine he himself identifies. This is a contradiction, diagnosing the cause correctly, but punishing the victim instead. If hatred is driven by misinformation, then visibility and normalization, not silence, are the antidote. Demanding Muslim withdrawal from public life concedes victory to propaganda. Rights are not preserved by hiding. They are preserved by exercising them within the law. No evidence is provided that Muslim prayer harms anyone's liberty. Liberty does not mean insulation from seeing or hearing others. It means protection from coercion and harm. Observing religious practice in public is not oppression. It is pluralism. Myron's repeated return to multiculturalism as the root of urban problems ignores economic policy, housing costs, governance failures, and inequality. Culture becomes a scapegoat for structural issues, allowing resentment to replace analysis. The founders explicitly anticipated religious diversity and conflict, which is why they prohibited religious tests, established freedom of worship, and separated church from state. The system worked as designed. The problem is not unforeseen diversity. It is the refusal to accept its legal implications.